Hey, Dr. Augustine here from Head to Wellness, speaking to you today on the topic of ADHD. ADHD. 1 in 10 children today have ADHD, according to the experts. The problem is, for most people, it's a very difficult diagnosis. Matter of fact, it's mostly misdiagnosed because there is no blood test for it. There is no brain imaging for ADHD. However, it's completely decided upon based on a child's behavior. That being said, let's talk about some of the root causes and foundational issues. Number one, a child has lots of energy. Number two, and the thing that people don't really like to talk about much, is diet. So diets are critical. They're foundational to most of this disturbed behavior. The number one most addictive substance on the planet is sugar. High fructose corn syrup, which is in most processed foods today, big proponent that definitely worsens and increases a child's behavior from the perspective of ADHD, fidgeting, and they have out of control energy. They can't pay attention. Their focus and concentration is off. All of those things can be typical of a child that's on way too much sugar. So there's also blood sugar roller coasters that occur as well with this problem. So when we can really get to the root causes of this, we look at diet, nutrition, critical. There's also showing some evidence of dyes and colors in foods, plus neuroexcitatory chemicals such as sodium benzoate, preservatives, and you've of course heard of the monosodium glutamate, the MSG. All of those factors play a role. And so ultimately, what does that mean in the bigger overview is that diets that are higher in sugar and refined sugar like high fructose corn syrup is really going to agitate, irritate, and stimulate a child's brain function. If you've compared brains on a person that has cocaine, brain imaging on cocaine and sugar, it's the same. They really look the same. Therefore, for what an adult loves and craves and is addicted to coffee because of the caffeine response in their brain, a child is just the same way, because a child that's born and when you start transitioning them to food, first off, if you're giving them formulas have lots of carbs in them. Certainly the first transition is to like rice cereal and fruit juice. So always carbs. And then throughout their childhood time, they're fed McDonald's and fast food and cereal and just lots of sugar. So imagine changing that as a first step would be huge, because a child's brain on sugar is sort of similar to an adult's brain on sugar, because adults have ADHD too, supposedly. I say supposedly because I don't really buy into that diagnosis, because it's not a objective, measurable diagnosis. People can have behavioral disorders also because of maybe there's also a family imbalance from an emotional perspective for this child. So that being said, something also to consider, but certainly getting a child more away from carbs and sugars and starches and processed foods and fast foods to more natural, fresh foods. So a child having for breakfast bacon and eggs every day would be amazing. If you have to give them fruit juice and make a transition, maybe you do 1/3 fruit juice to 2/3 water. You would really dramatically water it down. And I remember this very vividly. There was a child, this child was 16 years old, who had all kinds of issues. He was failing out of high school as a result of his inability to concentrate and focus, right? Classic ADHD issues. Come to find out after more conversation, this child literally, and this is an exaggeration, he would literally drink a case of Mountain Dew every day. A case every day. So what do you think that we should do there? I think we should probably transition this child away from the sugar. Made dramatic changes. We actually did some testing, some cardiovascular testing, found out he had irregular heartbeats, EKG testing. Irregular heartbeats, his heart was all over the place, all kinds of problems. Immediately when we took him off all that sugar and massive caffeine, all that settled down, everything changed. He's a super smart kid, did really well in school. The toughest part of this is for mom and dad to really sit down and consider dietary changes, because it's going to benefit everybody in the family. But secondly, can you really make that transition? It's a hard struggle. Kids have a hard time rationalizing, taking away something that they love. So all that being said, make the transition. Steer away from carbohydrates in the diet. Transition to proteins, fats, and vegetables. You can make them taste good. Also, consider having this child get adequate rest and sleep. Maybe exercising them, getting them into something that they can exercise out all of that excess energy, which really can dramatically make a difference in their behavior, their concentration, focus, their ability to sleep too when their body's tired. That'll make a big difference too. That emotional support that you can provide for them, really looking at dairy grains, taking those out of the diet because grains are a massive problem. All cereals today, all grains are sprayed with glyphosate. They found, actually a study a couple months ago found that glyphosate is in, which is Roundup, the pesticide weed killer, is in breakfast cereals. Big problem, not good. So away from cereals, completely away from cereals. Having bacon and eggs, having different sausages today that have chicken and all kinds of vegetables within them, but would be really, really good to do. Protein and good fats, essential. Also giving kids fish oil that they flavor it now, so it doesn't even taste like fish. Lots of good DHA fish oil dramatically can help brain function. So that's it. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the comment section below. And again, my name is Dr. Augustine from Head to Wellness. I'd love to hear your comments or your thoughts. Have a great day.